Hi, my name is Joe and I am a theatre maker and creative technologist, and I am here to talk to you about digital theatre, specifically the difference between digital theatre and film. And in order to do this, we must first take a step back and define what theatre is. Theatre is a collaborative form of performing art that uses live performers to present the experience of a real or imagined event before a live audience in a specific place, often a stage. Now, if we highlight the key parts of this statement, we can more carefully compare theatre and film. Film, like theatre, is a collaborative creative endeavour using recordings of live performances. And of course, film tells stories just like theatre does, leaving the key difference that theatre uses a live audience, an audience in the same place and the same time as the performance, and that performance takes place in a specific place, often a stage. And if we combine these elements together, we get the sense of liveness. So that's the difference between theatre, and therefore digital theatre, and film. Or is it? Maybe liveness can be refined down further. Why don't we try and do that? Here is a performer in green and blue and an audience member in red and yellow. The performer's part of the story, and the line between them is the boundary between the story and the audience. So presence is when content from the story enters the world of the audience. This is what theatre is great at, with the performers being in the same space as the audience. But film doesn't try to evoke presence. Film tries to evoke immersion, the opposite of presence, the transporting of the audience into the world of the story. Theatre tries to create immersion in the same way film might, but theatre struggles a little more because the suspension of disbelief required for a theatre audience is greater than that of a film audience. If you manage to dissolve this boundary rather than traversing it, you create embodiment, a feeling of embodiment. And this is the idea that the story and the audience exist and coexist within the same space. This isn't super present in film and theatre a lot of the time, and is much more present or prevalent in other forms of performing art like magic or storytelling like political propaganda. And from this refinement, we can further say that the difference between theatre and film is in fact presence. So if you're creating a piece of digital theatre, how do you make sure that that presence is still evoked? It's not as simple as showing an archive recording or streaming a piece of live theatre, because the piece is most often, or more likely, directed towards a live audience and not a digital audience, which means that different levels of liveness and presence will be felt in your digital audience. So how can you make sure that that presence is still felt through the digital medium? You can change the staging of the piece. Pieces filmed in traverse or in the round evoke more presence in digital audiences. This is because while we're watching the action on stage, we can also watch the reaction of the audience behind the stage or to the side of the stage, and we can see when they are laughing, when they are sad or upset by what's on stage, when they're angry. We can connect with them, and connecting with other people, that social bonding, is part of the presence of theatre. We can equate the live and digital audience in a different way by limiting what they can experience in the same way. The Encounter is a show by the theatre company Complicité, and as part of the live show, the audience listen to the sound of the show through a pair of headphones. Now, watching the show as a digital audience member during a live stream or broadcast of the show after the fact is very similar in presence to watching the show live, because so much of the show happens through its sound design, and you're experiencing the sound design exactly the same way as the audience members would when the show was live. The easiest way to evoke presence in digital theatre is to make digital theatre, not just adapt a live theatre performance. Create something from scratch that uses the medium to its best. Consider live theatre as the presentation of live stories, and digital theatre might be best suited for telling digital stories. Stories that take place on digital platforms. Now, not only would this evoke presence in a way that film doesn't, but this might even achieve embodiment, blurring the line between the audience and the story depending on the way that that story is presented or told. So to summarise, digital theatre and film differ because of their liveness, specifically their presence. But digital theatre can achieve that which traditional live theatre finds more difficult, because digital theatre can also achieve embodiment if created in the right way.